Welcome to Time for Health. I'm your host, Rachel Fall, and we're very glad you've joined us. Usually what we do in the show is we share a little bit of wellness information, something that might be useful for you or maybe somebody you know, but we always suggest before you start anything new, you're always going to want to talk to your healthcare provider before you make any big changes or anything like that. So today we're talking about the basics of exercise. So COVID happened, or is happening, I suppose. And not necessarily everybody is ready to be back out in exercise classes or gyms, but a lot of them are open, and we have a lot of opportunities around here for people. But I have Marshall Brink here with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Rachel.
And he's going to talk about maybe some things that we could do at home or really anywhere. You don't necessarily need to go to a class or a gym or have fancy schmancy equipment. There's a lot of things we can do just kind of simply. So I guess talk about the different sort of categories of exercises like cardio, stretching, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, your basic types, like you just touched on. The cardio, where you're gonna go out and walk and try to get your heart rate up to certain beats per minute. And then you have your strength training where you're going to try to increase your strength and improve muscular function. Okay. And then your flexibility is also important. As we age, it's good to stay flexible. It kind of helps eliminate any injuries. And flexibility kind of goes along with different static type of stretches, which I'm sure everyone's well aware of those. But also like yoga, static. And then they also have some dynamic stretches too.
Is that like standing still stretches and moving stretches? Is that
yeah.
Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And there are different types of yoga that are, if patients do like or people do like stretches, yoga kind of has different routes where it's just one might focus more on flexibility, another type might focus more on strengthening.
Okay.
And those are just kind of based on the instructors that are there, and they can kind of enlighten you before you go out and try something.
I remember, we're all getting older, but as I age, I used to the cardio was the thing, and then you need to intersperse some strength training in there. And now, honestly, the stretching is real important.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I always think it's good to have a good balance. Try to do a little bit of everything. The cardio, the strength training, and then some stretching. That way you're kind of well balanced, especially with COVID and everyone's kind of locked in at their house. You have deconditioning starts setting in where you're not as strong as you were because you're not out doing things. The American Heart Association recommends about 150 minutes per week. So that's 30 minutes every 5 days, or for 5 days.
5 days, okay.
And, to get up and go do stuff. And if it's hard to, do all 30 minutes at one time, you can build up. So you can do 10 minutes 3 times a day.
Okay.
So
sometimes that's a little easier.
Right.
I could take a 10-minute break and go for a pretty decent walk or something like that. Okay.
Or if you can't get out of the house, just walk around the house and, build up your endurance and strength that way.
Right. One of the things I wanted to ask about was, how does somebody start exercising, or how often should they do it? And I always remember this article I read years ago about a lady, and she was very, very large, and she had a lot of weight to lose, and she couldn't do a lot of things, and so she just started walking around the island in her kitchen because she had to hold on to something. And that's all she could do, but she did it, and then, she lost, 100 pounds or something like that. So
yeah, that's a prime example. We all have to start somewhere, so you can't be discouraged if you're not as active as you want to be, but you can be determined and get to where you want to.
Just do something. Is it true? Can gardening count as?
Yeah, I think gardening can count. That's physical activity. You're kneeling on the ground, you're getting up, you're moving around and in a different position than what you normally do.
Right.
And that to your body could be, exercise. That's activity. Yeah.
Anything that kind of gets your heart rate up or your muscles moving.
Yeah, definitely.
That kind of stuff.
As far as getting started, you mentioned at the beginning of this episode about, following up with your physician first. making sure that your medications are in line to your activity level, and then just gradually getting into exercise. And there's no wrong or right exercise type. It's just whatever fits into your activity level.
Can you just start like walking up and down your stairs, or I mean, if you're beyond
Yeah.
maybe walking around your island and
Stairs are a great exercise. You know, you're pushing against gravity to go vertical. So
Yeah.
anything like that's going to be great.
Okay. And you said about 150 minutes a week is
That's
where
what
your
the-
heart rate is up a little bit, or you're doing something.
Yeah, that's what the American Heart Association
Okay.
recommends. So
And do you recommend, or is it recommended that people kind of do the same thing every day, or do you alternate days, or?
initially starting out, rest in between days. So every other day would be good. As you advance, you can break it up into almost exercising every day, just doing different types of exercise. One day might be cardio, the next day might be flexibility, then the following day would be strengthening. Or if you're just on a strengthening exercise routine, you can just do upper body and lower body, alternating days.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Making sure that the group of muscles that are getting worked have a day of rest.
Okay. So alternating days is kind of the best. I know I
Yeah.
kind of fall into a rut. A lot of times if I have a good library book, I'm riding the exercise bike in the basement a few days in a row, and I'm like, that's getting kind of old and not really doing much. I need to put down the book and go do something else,
Right.
maybe. So alternating something is best.
Yeah, it's best because then you eliminate any overuse or chronic injuries that might occur.
And then we'd have to go see
Yeah, come in and visit physical therapy.
physical therapy.
But yeah, I mean, like being well balanced in cardio, strength, and flexibility is the main focus.
Are there certain places, I mean, some people, I still have exercise videos and DVDs and that kind of stuff, but I feel like there's an awful lot on YouTube now. Do you have, do you recommend that? I know you kind of have to be careful because...
Yeah, I haven't really looked too much into that. And as far as what I would say is, watch a couple of videos. If you feel like they're at your fitness level, then yeah, go ahead and give it a try. If it's too advanced, take a breaks throughout the video or try to find something a little bit less as intense. But yeah, just basically, figure out what your fitness level is at, and then build upon that.
I also found I signed up to get emails from WebMD just about different topics, and one of them must have been exercise that I checked, because every now and then I'll get an article and it'll kind of talk about stretching or different strength training, and it'll kind of give you it's on the computer, it's on paper that you can print out, but it's like different things that you can do. Try
like
these.
a list of exercises.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's a good.
I didn't know WebMD did that.
They do. That was probably like a free ad for WebMD. Didn't mean to do that. That's okay. The other thing, some of the exercise videos that I have are back in the day when I could do a lot fancier stuff, more intense stuff. And so I still use those videos, but I kind of
scale it down.
tone it down a little bit
Yep.
for what I'm able to do.
That's very appropriate. There are a lot of videos out there now on, that people are doing, and constantly, they're adding more videos, and it's just like a big series. Those are fine.
Yeah.
Some of them might just be more intense. You just got to be careful and gradually get into the exercise versus throw yourself into it.
Yeah. There's also some that are a little bit less intense, and I'm like, okay, I can ramp this up, so maybe I add some teeny tiny little hand weights to it or something like that. So always being cautious.
Yeah, there you go.
Only because I learned the hard way, because I'm like, yeah, let's do this, and then you just hurt yourself, and that's no good. So when you're doing exercises, you're going to demonstrate a few for us in a little bit, but when you do exercises, you kind of talked about the minutes of exercise you should do, but especially maybe in strength training. And this isn't necessarily strength training so you could become like a bodybuilder, but just strength training just so your body continues to work as long as possible. reps and all that kind of stuff. Talk about that.
Yeah, typically you want to start out with 10 reps, okay, and build up to three sets of those.
Okay.
So you do 10 maybe bicep curls, the first time, then the next time maybe you can do two sets of 10, all right, or 3 sets of 10. So you just want to gradually build up to, 3 sets of 10, and then the resistance is going to be determinant of how intense it is. So if you can do 3 sets of 10 of a certain weight, and then you feel like, oh, well, I'm not challenged anymore, then add a couple more reps, so maybe 3 sets of 15.
Okay.
Then when that becomes easy again, then you would want to increase your resistance to bump you back down to 3 sets of 10.
Okay, so a little bit higher weight, back down to 3 sets of 10. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty safe.
Yeah, that's pretty much safe across the
Standard.
board for any strength training exercise that
like sit-ups and your legs and all that kind of stuff too, like.
Yeah, I would just recommend 3 sets of 10 as a general rule of thumb. Now, when you do read articles, you're going to read people doing, 3 sets of 20 or whatever. But for just general strengthening, without getting into all the minutia and all the nitty-gritty, 3 sets of 10 is where general strengthening occurs.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then weight size, like you want to feel it, but not like can't move it.
Right. So you want to be able to get to 10, right? So the last 2 reps, maybe reps 9 and 10, are going to be challenging.
Okay.
All right. If they're not challenging, then you would add your rep.
Okay.
Okay. Up to maybe 15 or so. And then once that becomes easy and you're up to 15 and that feels pretty easy, then you're going to bump down your reps down to 10 again, but add some more weight.
Okay.
So if you're doing 5 pounds and you get to 3 sets of 15, maybe find a 7-pounder or something.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, when we're talking about weights and that kind of stuff, now we're starting to talk, and videos, I mean, we might be starting to talk about like some equipment. So, I mean, I've heard people say, well, you can use soup cans or gallons of milk or whatever, which you can do.
Yeah, I mean, that's weight. That's weight.
Yeah.
I think a gallon of water is 8 pounds, so you can figure that out.
But a couple gallons of
water.
Spring water and go for it.
But as far as the different types of the modes of exercise, free weights versus elastic resistance, body weight. Body weight's going to be determined on if you can move your body, against resistance. Now you can alter that so you're not against so much resistance, and then you can gradually increase that. Elastic bands versus free weights. Elastic bands, they're easier to stow, because you don't have a big weight to hold on to or have to store. But those are versatile as well. They're lightweight. You can take them almost anywhere.
Right.
One of the drawbacks is the setup. So you might have to figure out how to set the band up in order to do a specific exercise.
Gotcha.
Whereas free weights, everyone's mind kind of goes around free weights. I was like, against gravity, this is where I have to go, this is where I have to be. So in that aspect of understanding how to use it, the free weights are a little bit better.
Okay.
But one of the downsides of free weights is if you use them enough, you're going to outgrow them.
Right.
So then you have to buy
threes,
more.
Then you got 5s, then you got 7s. And
yep. And then you have to
and then
keep
you have
buying
a whole
more.
gym in your basement.
So if you have limited space, elastic bands would probably be a good option. Or if you want to take them places, those can also be changed in resistance. If you take the band and you're just holding on to one side and you're pulling it in or something, and that's light, then you could just easily double up the band, and then you have double the resistance.
Gotcha.
Okay, so bands are good. It just requires a little bit more thought of how to set it up so you get the right resistance, stress, and force. So.
And all of this is kind of a work in progress. I mean, if somebody is just kind of doing this just to move, I mean, that's the key, is just move, just do something.
Right.
And maybe err on the side of caution, I would say, like if you're like, should I use a 5-pound or a 7-pound? Start with the 5-pound, see how it
exactly.
goes. Yeah, for all of that.
Yep, always start a little bit lighter, and then do that for a while, and once it becomes easy and you're comfortable with it, then increase.
And what about, I'm sure everybody has, I'm gonna do this, and I start out for a month and it's fantastic, and then you have a busy week and you don't do it. Like, do you have suggestions, like just get back up and start over, just?
Yeah, I think, if you're not going to lose that much in a week, especially if you're already kind of active and you've just been busy, you could probably start back up where you left off.
Okay.
Mind you might be a little bit sore the next day.
Okay.
But soreness is, it's good. Some soreness is good. A lot of soreness is bad. It just means that you worked the muscle, you worked your body, and it's just recovering. So it's a natural healing process.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So don't just, if you quit for a little bit, then don't quit totally. Just get back and do something.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and what about I've read lots of articles about like incidental taking the stairs instead of the elevator, instead of sending an email, walking to see that person. I don't think that's going to get your heart rate up necessarily, but
like we said earlier, every little bit counts. So if you do park at a grocery store, park further away than from the front. Taking the stairs instead of the elevator. All these little things, they add up, and will just gradually increase your functional strength and capacity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So within all of this is always the question of proper form, and we're going to have you do some demonstrations of a few things, because there's nothing worse than doing a bunch of exercises and then injuring yourself or realizing you've been doing them wrong and this isn't working or whatever. So proper form is kind of the other thing, proper weight and reps and how many times a week and all that, but doing it right is also a pretty important piece of the puzzle, right?
Right. Oh, yes.
All right.
Proper technique is important.
All right, Carla, I think we're going to pause and we're going to move over and do some demonstrations. Do a couple of demonstrations. Okay, Marshall's going to do a couple of demonstrations for us to make sure that we're doing anything that we do at home to keep our bodies healthy, that we're just doing it properly so we don't hurt ourselves. Yep. So you brought a few little things with you, body resistance. I did. You just take it away.
Yeah, so I just kind of came up with some basic exercises that can be done at home with or without heavy weights. So basically, I like to start with the bigger muscles, they call them the prime movers, and then kind of go down to the smaller muscles. All right. So the first one is so simple. It's for your legs, okay, and it's just a sit to stand, okay. So you're just sitting down, okay, and standing up. It seems simple enough, but if you add, if you're supposed to do 10 of them in a row, and then adding, a rep or whatever each time, it can be challenging. And ways to kind of progress that, instead of sitting down and fully unweighting yourself, if you just come down and tap and then come back up, now you're keeping your legs fully engaged, okay? So that's kind of like the progression. You totally unweight yourself, okay, and then you stand back up. And then, you're going to progress to just touching and coming back up. All right, as you're doing this, you want kind of a shoulder width base for the feet. Feet should be kind of facing forward, and you don't want your knees to be banging up against the back of the chair either. All your weight should be on your feet.
Okay.
Okay. The next exercise would be similar to a row. Okay, kind of like a bent over row, and if you have a free weight, it will look kind of something like this, okay, where you're bent over, you kind of have a flat back, and you're rowing up, okay, and then just straight back down. Okay. As you come up, kind of squeeze that shoulder blade back. All right.
Is that what you're working there, is your shoulders?
You're mostly working your lat, okay, which is this part of your body. But you're also kind of targeting the back part of your shoulders. Okay. If you don't have free weights, you could do this similar with the band. All right. If you stand on the band, you can kind of get in a squatted position and just kind of row back. Okay. Or kind of same scenario. If you have like a, you could put it in a door, or if you had a pillar, you can wrap around a pillar, and then if you want to just, I won't pull too hard. All right, and then you just kind of pull back. So another kind of quick alternative
like
with the bands.
On your porch or in your base, if you have a basement.
Yeah, or on a handrail to the steps or something. Yep.
Okay.
All right. The next one would be kind of like a bench press. As far as doing a bench press with the body weight would be considered a push-up. All right. So if a push-up on the ground is too hard, you can always gradually get down there. Do a push-up on the stair or on the chair, rather. Okay. If that is still too hard, you can use a wall. Just have the wall in front of you, and you're gonna push out away from the wall and come back. Okay.
What's the flat back?
Yeah, you want to.
Sometimes when you catch yourself in the mirror, you're like, I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be like in an arch like this.
Okay, good point. Keep your core activated, so tighten your stomach up. And yeah, you're gonna want to stay nice and level as you can. Okay. And that way you're focusing more on pushing with the chest. Okay. Squeezing the chest. All right. With the TheraBand, there's a couple different ways you could do that. You could, if you have a chair, you could kind of put it around the chair back, and you push out.
See, I have some of those TheraBands, and I never thought to do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I talked about, it's just the TheraBands are just a little bit different to really think about how the forces are going to be applied.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Whereas the dumbbells, everyone kind of thinks in terms of
Pretty
dumbbells.
Easy, yeah.
All right.
And you said, there's different intensities in the TheraBands as well?
Yes.
Are there like stronger ones and
easier
ones?
Every brand kind of has their own colors, coordinated TheraBands, but I think typically if you buy them in a store, they're going to come in a pack of 3, and then it'll be light, medium, and heavy, and then you can just kind of play with those.
See what works. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Moving on, we're going to go back to the legs. This time we're going to do a lunge. Okay. And a lunge, standard lunge is you're just lunging down and coming back up. All right. If you're just starting out, again, and you need just a little bit of support, you have your trusty chair. All right. Then you can use that and come back down or come back up. As you come down, you don't want your knee to bang on the floor. Okay. So you just want to stop just a couple inches before the floor. A lot of the common issues with the lunge that I see with patients is they don't take a long enough stride. So they might do kind of more of a smaller stride and their knee comes over their toes.
Okay.
All right.
What does that do? Squats and everything, they're always like, knees over your toes, knees over your toes. What happens when it goes too far?
Yeah, if it goes too far, you're just adding a lot of stress and a lot of strain on the knee joint itself. So if you feel like there's a lot of strain, and you can feel it when you do it incorrectly, I feel a lot of strain in through the front part of my knee there. But if I take a little bit longer of a stride and just kind of sink down, now I don't have as much strain through the knee.
Okay.
Yep.
So they really do mean it when they say knees over the ankles. Knees over the ankles.
Don't let them go. Don't let them go past the
far,
toes.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You're doing great.
Thanks. All right. So let's go back to the upper body. This time we're gonna hit the shoulders, okay? All right, so a standard shoulder press, you can do them in standing or seated. And you're just gonna have your palms face forward, or they could be facing each other, okay? You're pushing straight up and coming down, okay? It's simple enough. Now, for the TheraBand version, you can do it a couple ways. If you're seated, you could put it underneath your seat and do the same thing, okay?
Like that.
Or standing, just stand on the band and push up.
And you can use cans of soup, right?
Yep. Any weight. Yep.
Although you want it to be even, so you want.
Yeah. Don't go with chunky and green beans.
Little tiny, right.
Make sure you have two of the same.
Two same size anyway.
All right. Gotcha. All right, and then you have your trusty bicep curl. A lot of people like these. Couple different ways you can do them. I like to add a little rotation into it. So I'm coming down and rotating up, okay, as I'm coming up, and then I'm going back down. Okay, you can do them, just like this. You can do them palm up, okay.
And I've seen people do like just halfway, either down to that middle or middle to is that just?
Yeah. That's more for an isolation type exercise for the bicep, and like I said, that's probably further down the road. I would recommend just going through the full range of motion of all these exercises, just for good joint and muscle strength and health. So.
All right, and a lot of that when you were doing the this thing, shoulder press.
Yeah, shoulder press. Mm-hmm.
Getting things in upper cut, like the big heavy dishes out of the cut, like just to keep those muscles in good shape, just to function, just for putting groceries away or reaching up and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, good point with the shoulder. If you're doing anything overhead, you got to be very cautious just because of the shoulder joint itself. Its anatomy is structured for a lot of mobility, not so much strength. Okay, so that might be one where you're going to want to do, keep the weights a little bit lighter. Okay.
Gotcha.
And then the TheraBand, I'm sure everyone could imagine that one, standing on the TheraBand and doing your bicep curl. Okay. All right, and typically you always want to hit, if you do a moving motion in the front, you don't want to do a moving motion in the back. Okay, so you want to kind of have balance. So since we did the bicep, we'll hit the tricep. One way you can do this is with the dumbbell. Okay, you're just going to kind of press up overhead. Okay. Now I just kind of keep my hand here to kind of, like I said earlier, protect the shoulder. Okay, it kind of helps provide a block too. So you can just kind of block your shoulder there.
And you're keeping it kind of close to your head, not necessarily.
Yeah, don't keep the shoulder or the elbow closer to your head. Don't let it flare out so much. That puts the shoulder at a really disadvantaged position. Okay. So yeah, keep it closer in. Okay.
If I do a bunch of those, are we going to get rid of this thing that no one will ever see? No.
It'll tone it up.
It'll tone it up.
It'll tone it up. Yep. And then same thing with the TheraBand. These are all kind of this similar setup with these. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure out how to get them set up, but something similar to that. All right.
So would you recommend, you said alternating, like if somebody's got 20 minutes at home, that they do some lunges and then do some arms, or do you like do everything with your legs one day and then everything with your arms the next day, or just mix and match every day? Just general. We're not
depending on the situation, of course.
We're not an Olympic athlete.
If you can only get in 3 days a week for 20 minutes, then do the whole body.
Okay.
Okay. And then that way you know that you are kind of strengthening everything instead of being worried that, oh, I really got to get this day in. Just.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So we kind of worked on some of the legs with the squats or the sit to stands and the lunges. And those are just more of the prime movers, the bigger muscle groups. So working more on the smaller muscles that work in balancing, it's also very important to work those.
Yes.
So one of the simple things that you can do is just simply marching in place, okay? That way you're working on your hips and your pelvis stability. Also, you're working your ankles, okay, to balance.
Okay.
And ways that you can make it a little bit safer, have something to hold on to, raising up. And then as you progress, you try to get away and try to use more of your muscles to balance yourself. And then the progression then becomes go slower, okay? You're gonna go slower and hold for a longer time. All right.
Yeah, because we talked about strength and flexibility, but balance is huge. Otherwise, we're all falling down, and that's not good.
Right.
So.
Especially as we age, we tend to lose the balance component of things too.
Okay.
And then kind of the last thing to kind of wrap it up, you could just work on your lower legs. Okay, keep those strong too, because you're going to need those to propel you forward. When you're walking, and propel you upstairs when you're going up. So basic just heel raises or calf raises, going up on your tippy toes and coming down. Again, you can use something to hold on to. You can do it without holding on, depending on how balanced you are.
Right.
And then the progression is, doing more reps, like I mentioned before, but also slowing down the motion. Okay, so it's slower and controlled. If you can progress past then you're going to do, one leg. So you take, instead of your body weight being spread over two feet, then spread over one. And that's kind of the progression of that.
Very cool. Thank you. So lots of variety to do with equipment, with things you have at home, with just your body. I mean, you could theoretically do a lot of things with just your body weight.
Yes.
Probably, but maybe a hand weight or a TheraBand might be a good thing to,
Right, exactly, like some of those smaller ones, like the bicep curls and things like that. Hand weights might be good for to start off with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any last minute thoughts you want to share with people about moving and exercise and?
Just there's really no wrong way of getting started. It's just the process of getting started and staying focused and motivated. If there are any issues or any questions to how to exercise appropriately, you could always feel free to reach out to me.
You absolutely can.
And I would love to hear from you and give you some advice if needed.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. And we're back. I want to thank Marshall for being here today and sharing some information, but also physically demonstrating how to do these things so that we can keep moving, make sure our bodies are at good functioning level, keep us healthy as long as possible. So as he mentioned, if you have questions, he has an email that you can reach out to him with any questions. We would love to hear from you. You can reach me at the hospital if you have suggestions about future episodes. And again, this information, hopefully it was useful for you, or if you want to share it with anybody that it might be useful for. And until we meet again, I encourage you to make time for health.